WPG Talk Radio 104.1 presents Ask the Mayor. It's your opportunity to talk directly to Atlantic City Mayor Don Guardian. Brought to you by Lexus of Atlantic City, serving the community for 25 years. Luxury vehicles at the right price. Come see how easy, affordable, and satisfying the luxury car buying and service experience can be at Lexus of Atlantic City on Fire Road in EHT. Now, with Mayor Don Guardian, here's Harry Hurley.
Good evening. And welcome to Ask the Mayor. Atlantic City Mayor Don Guardian is here. We have a great hour straight ahead here with you on WPG Talk Radio 104.1 FM, 1450 AM, anywhere at WPG-talkradio.com. And remember, not only can you call in starting right now at 609-407-1450, you can also email your questions in at our website, WPG-talkradio.com. You can go on Facebook. Just go to our Facebook page, which is simple enough, facebook.com/WPG1450, and you can do it right from there. You can also send your question through Twitter using the hashtag WPGAskTheMayor. Mr. Mayor Don Guardian, welcome to your program, sir.
Good morning. Good morning.
Sorry
about that.
That's a compliment.
Yeah.
That's the hugest compliment. That means my brand is
absolutely, I know. Good evening, Harry. It's good to see you. Good to be on WPG. You don't know how happy you just made me. If people could see the webcam. I'm smiling ear to ear.
I want to start on a somber note, but also I understand it was a beautiful note, and that was the Senator Jim Whalen memorial service to celebrate his life held earlier today. Approximately 2,000 people came out to send the senator off in really fine fashion, and I want to get your observations.
Yeah, indeed. It was great filling the floor on Boardwalk Hall with people that just wanted to come out and pay their last respects to a gentleman who devoted his life to public service. I mean, I think the message has been clear. I mean, he came here as a Philadelphia kid with his parents to summer in the inlet, fell in love with the beach and the ocean, and then he served us 19 years as a lifeguard, came back after college, 36 years as a teacher and a swim coach, and of course as councilman, mayor, assemblyman, and senator. And it was wonderful. They must have had 8 or 10 speakers during the, I guess, about 90-minute program with a beautiful song in the center and several beautiful musical pieces at the beginning. Of course, an invocation and then a benediction at the end. But it was very nice to hear people talk about the whale. And they spoke in very glowing terms. A man who loved Atlantic City, who dedicated his life to it. He had a lot of different titles, but probably he would be most impressed with the title of mayor, that he was an honest man, a good man. He really had the interest of Atlantic City and its people in his heart all the time. And although all of us have had disagreements with him, that we respected that he truly did his best. He was a gentleman. He was a statesman more than a politician. And one of the comments I made is that he stood tall not because of his height, but because of the content of his character. So a sad day. It was nice to see everyone come together. And then, of course, Kathy Burke did a beautiful repose over at the Irish Pub. And then everybody else that wanted to say something a little bit more lighthearted. That's not quite right for the memorial, but fond memories of Jim. They were able to do it. Great Irish band, of course. The Sandpipers from
they're special.
Yep. So a very nice afternoon memorial. Governor Florio spoke, and Governor McGreevy was there as well.
Yeah, good man.
Senator Sweeney.
It was just who's who, actually. Now,
yes.
Mayor, on a shop question,
yeah.
And then we'll get to your callers. Your first caller will
sure.
be Citizen Larry in just a little bit. I'm a little bit miffed, and I pose it to you, but in fairness, the state made this settlement, so it's not fair. But since you're here and you are the mayor, I at least want to get your take on it.
Sure.
The John Mooney settlement perplexes me.
Yep.
He lost the appeal. I don't think there was ever going to be ultimately an appeal, even if there was a new trial and a new verdict. I don't believe there was ever going to be a settlement that the city would have been responsible for in any shape, manner, form. But by settling, you bake in this amount, whether it's paid for by insurance or I don't know how this is being paid. And I want people to understand this is not just $2.3 million. There has to be $2+ million more over the course of these years, and legal fees and all of that. No full accounting has ever been done on this, but I think this was a crazy, and again, I stipulated this on Hurley in the Morning. I don't like John Mooney very much, and there aren't many people I don't like. I genuinely like people. I make an exception in his case, but I would be saying this anyhow. This is not a cheap shot at him. It's not a personal attack. When you don't have exposure, the last appeals court decision overturned the jury verdict. Why in the world would this be happening?
I don't have an answer, Harry. I thought this
Would you have settled it?
No. I thought this had been settled several months ago after the appeal.
Right. It was settled because the appeal court threw it out.
Yes.
Then the city's in a position of strength at that point.
Harry, I wish I could add some to it. I can't.
All right. But the city did have pretty exorbitant expenses.
Absolutely. All of the legal fees plus the $2.3 million settlement.
Who pays that $2.3 million?
Insurance. I think we're good. I don't want to misrepresent here, Harry.
So it probably is partly insurance and partly something else?
Yeah, because I know that a separate lawsuit we were discussing the same day, we had $500,000 that we were responsible for, and then the insurance company pays the rest. I'm not sure with this case. And
I stipulate the question wasn't fair to you because you had nothing to do with it. But you're at least an interested party.
Oh, absolutely. I'm the one that's paying it.
Yeah. 609-407-1450, an open phone line from Mayor Don Guardian. It is 11 minutes past the hour. It's a beautiful evening in the metro market. We're going to be here for a few minutes past the top of the next hour. Then we'll join Mark Levin in progress. You have an opportunity right now, as Citizen Larry will demonstrate, to pose your questions, your comments to Atlantic City Mayor Don Guardian. Once a month, we have this great program. It's, in fact, multiple award-winning every year of its existence. It's been the best of the best, New Jersey best of the best program from the New Jersey Broadcasters Association's awards. And the next episode will be Wednesday, October 25th, so not long before General Election Day in the 6 o'clock hour is when we will reconvene after tonight's program. Oh, and also, Citizen Larry, before you come on, at any time, usually it's about the next late morning or sometime in the afternoon of the day after, in the very near future after one of our episodes, if you go to the WPG YouTube channel, these episodes are there. So if you miss anything tonight or you think you heard something and you want to hear it back and play it back, it's there on demand. Citizen Larry, you are on the air. Welcome to Ask the Mayor with Atlantic City Mayor Don Guardian.
Mayor, compliments to you on that very touching memoriam tribute to your predecessor, Mayor Wayland. It was really excellent, so well done. I was just thinking almost 4 years ago when you first became mayor, what a very grim hand you were given to take over with. The Atlantic City was bankrupt, broke, no money. 4 big casinos closing, one after another. Then the state came in, which you vigorously opposed, and took over everything. And the point of all this is that, it shows the measure of the man that in spite of all this, all this adversarial conditions you had, in spite of all that, you were still able to stand in the breach and make accomplishments and achievements to really improve Atlantic City. That's certainly complimentary to you, and certainly something outstanding that you have done that really sets you apart, makes you outstanding. There's 2 accomplishments which I think we really need to be reminded of. When we think back to those times, those desperate times for Atlantic City, when Atlantic City was in desperate straits, there's 2 particular things that I believe you engineered and or facilitated that really, really, helped Atlantic City in its time of desperation, and has really helped us to start on the road to coming back, two things are, number one, somehow I think you were involved and you facilitated a big money investor to come in here and to actually invest in Atlantic City and buy up property when no one else would. And this, of course, was with Bart Blatstein. First appeared at Caesars, then they bought the Showboat, and now numerous other properties. So that's an accomplishment to get an investor like that to come in. And the second thing that I feel was outstanding, that really helped save the day, was somehow you were able to help or guide or facilitate, Hard Rock Casino to come in. Like when it seemed like there was no hope, no chance of betterment, somehow Hard Rock came in and said, yes, we're going to invest in Atlantic City. We have confidence, and we're going to take over that.
Larry, stay with us. We'll keep your mic on. I want to give the mayor an opportunity so it doesn't get too far. There's so many things that you've said. I want to give the mayor an opportunity to catch up. I also would just quickly throw in there that everybody, including future Senator Chris Brown, Atlantic City Mayor Don Guardian, yours truly, because I put a lot of my brand on the line when people were telling me to take a dive and you don't know what you're doing, this is going to lose and you're going to be on the losing side and all these different things. I said, no way, no how. I'm not selling out my town. And that was everyone from Chamber Joe Kelly to, as I mentioned, Don Guardian and everybody. Senator Jeff Van Drew, let's be honest, the late Senator Whalen was no help, and nor was Assemblyman Mazzeo. But the team that got together, Unite Here Local 54, Chris Brown, Don Guardian, and we could go on and on and on. First, to have Hard Rock in Atlantic City, and to give Mayor Guardian any credit, we would not have Hard Rock in Atlantic City if that ballot question would have passed. Let's just be intellectually honest about that. Mayor, your time, and your mic is still on, Citizen Larry, but I want to give you, Mayor, an opportunity to respond because he put a lot of good stuff out there.
So we'll work backwards from Hard Rock. So Joe Gingoli, one of the principals I met with, I was only mayor a couple of months, and he actually was talking about property he owns up on Main Avenue between McClinton Park and the mid-rise that's there now. And he just didn't see the time being right for what he wanted to build and be able to sell it as condos. And we toyed with making the street wider to put in angle parking so you could take some of the parking out of the buildings, anything we could do to try to help it. It didn't work, but then he was back within the year, really excited about doing something with Revel and actually the whole Southeast Inlet. And that was Joe Gingoli initially with Jack Morris for the development piece, and then, of course, Jim Allen with the Hard Rock Casino piece. So they've been looking for a long time. Joe Gingoli and Jack Morris, very, very successful developers all over the state. So just like when we get back to Bart Blatstein, it was very exciting for me to find the guys that are so successful everywhere else in New Jersey to be willing to look at something in Atlantic City and believe that it was worth investing in. Unfortunately, Jim Allen, Jack Morris, Joe Gingoli tried on numerous occasions to try to buy the Revel. Yeah. It just didn't happen. It wasn't meant to be. And I think their frustration with that and
it wound up working out great, though.
It worked out very well. So they didn't get the Southeast Inlet development plan they wanted. They didn't get to buy the property that they first looked for, the Revel. But I really think that if they didn't buy Taj, it would have been the end of that property. So a big property about the size of the Borgata. So we've got the okay. This isn't tiny by any means and things. But I don't think if they bought the Revel that anyone would have tried to buy the Taj. So I think that's wonderful.
This actually could work out that I totally agree with what you said. The Taj would have gone way of the wrecking ball or something horrible, and it now will be a vibrant property that really helps everybody. Resorts is very happy about this. This is good. It's good for the market. And also Lee's Revel. I do want to bring up Glenn Straub. We've only had one conversation because my one conversation with him, it wasn't negative, but it was so scattered in so many directions that I thought, wow, here's a guy that I conclude you just can't do business with. What is the future of Revel in your estimation, Mayor?
Let me just finish Hard Rock.
All right.
I think what you said is correct. Certainly Hard Rock Jim Allen made no bombs about it. He wants to put a casino in the Meadowlands, and certainly having a casino license in the state of New Jersey will help him get there. We have a number of years, however many years, or maybe forever, because it may never happen.
Because we're going to fight it as hard next time as we did this time.
And he may fall in love with the new Hard Rock here and decide that he does want to hit his own casino in Atlantic City.
Right.
Exactly. So that was key to it. But I think also he was looking for some type of stabilization here. When I say stabilization with taxes, stabilization with city government, and certainly stabilization with the casino market, I think as all that came together, it became logical for them to do it. Let me do the Bart Blatstein, and then we'll come to Revel, only because Larry had asked about it. Yeah, I was always impressed with Bart Blatstein because of Northern Liberties. It seemed like an idiot idea. Who would buy an abandoned warehouse brewery, in this particular case, sitting around abandoned buildings, blow it up, create a piazza, start building some residential lofts, and then finally condos and make it successful? That's exactly what Bart did. So out-of-the-box thinker, knows what millennials want, and so him taking an interest already, being a Jersey boy, having a home on the shore, I was very excited. And as soon as Bart ventured into the idea of buying the mall, which hasn't been the success that he wanted, I certainly was glad that he picked up Showboat, and then I think he's made some very wise development. I think if you and I had the money, Harry, the pieces that he bought around the city, very, very wise, because other people need that for them to expand.
Exactly.
So
comment on Bart Blatstein.
Yeah.
I love the guy because everything he says he's going to do, he does. And you can't help but just respect and appreciate that, because the antithesis of him is Glenn Straub. And I've made it a point, I don't badmouth Glenn Straub because I don't know Glenn Straub. As I mentioned, I have his cell phone. We had one conversation. It was pleasant, but I came away from it thinking, wow, he's all over the place, and I'm not surprised he's never been able to get to the finish line. And the thing I don't know, Mayor, is it like a mad scientist plan that he never intended to get to the finish line, or is it just he can't get there? I can't state cause and effect because I don't know, but I do know that he almost appears to be impossible to work with.
So he's made a lot of money elsewhere, outside of New Jersey. He's a successful businessman.
Yes.
This may be the one that isn't going to be successful for him.
But he
or
can't lose.
He may be able to flip it.
Yes.
And maybe that's the whole point. He says
he could scrap it and make
exactly
several million.
right.
So he can't lose.
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah.
I think you're right there. But so just to stay on Revel for a moment, it's frustrating. The people before this I knew very well. Three of the principals that I thought was going to buy. Let me ask you this.
Yeah. Because I have floated this on a couple of occasions on Hurley in the Morning. I couldn't say learned and confirmed. Does Mark Giuliano work at Revel right now? Can you comment on that?
I don't think it's fair to comment on that.
Okay.
But certainly he appears to be one of the interested parties in potentially bringing a casino back there. So you have the right market. I think it's inappropriate for me to comment. Listen, if he was the first one, and this was 3 weeks ago, and he said, I'm closing, I believe it would happen and things. But it seems that we've had other people that were capable of buying and turning it around, and all of those deals fell apart. Mark Giuliani, very high in my estimation, great casino president here at Caesars. If you remember, he was putting together what now is Borgata when Steve Wynn was still involved, and he's done an incredible job in the Sands.
The market.
In the Sands in Pennsylvania.
I'm floating the fact that his name has been tucked into my ear by some very credible people on multiple occasions.
So Mark is back in town. He is certainly, if I was going to do this project, that's my man. That's who I'd want as the CEO of my casino hotel operation, especially this size.
We're late for the first break. Was there anything else about Larry's call that you wanted to comment on, Mayor?
No, I think that's it.
Thank you, Larry. Thanks for the great call. We're going to be right back. It's Ask the Mayor. You can be next at 609-407-1450. I have a question for the mayor coming up about Gardner's Basin. It's been coming up on our program early in the morning. I want to ask the mayor He has some public comments out there, and in fairness, I don't think they're complete. So I want to get his take and where he has more time to actually share his complete thoughts on the topic, because I always get a little bit nervous when something iconic is in its final year. I always like a new deal before you get to the last year, because then for continuity purposes, you know you're not in a contract year. People aren't spending the whole year saying, is it going to stay? Is it going to be gone? It's a big distraction for Miss America 2019. So I'll get the mayor's take on that. You can come in next at 609-407-1450. You're listening to WPG. I'm Hurley in the evening. He is Mayor Don Guardian, and his monthly program, Ask the Mayor, continues.
WPG Talk Radio 104.1 presents Ask the Mayor. It's your opportunity to talk directly to Atlantic City Mayor Don Guardian. Brought to you by Lexus of Atlantic City, serving the community for 25 years. Luxury vehicles at the right price. Come see how easy, affordable, and satisfying the luxury car buying and service experience can be at Lexus of Atlantic City on Fire Road in EHT. Now, with Mayor Don Guardian, here's Harry Hurley.
Thank you very much. Welcome back to Ask the Mayor. We're 27 minutes past the hour, and we have some hot topics coming up a little bit later in the hour. But as we always do, it's a promise and a commitment that Mayor Guardian and I have made to you from the beginning of this program. The whole point is Ask the Mayor isn't just Harry gets to ask the mayor. You come first. You get to ask the mayor, and John is next. Welcome to the program, John. You're on the air. Your question for Mayor Don Guardian.
How you doing, Mr. Mayor and Mayor Guardian?
Thank you.
Good evening, John.
I have a question about Miss America. Or actually, it's more of a statement, I would say. The way they ask these political questions, mainly about Donald Trump, is there any way that the city could ask them next year so that they don't do this? This is like, it's really making our Miss America pageant look political and stupid.
And what's a shame is, for an hour and 52 minutes, it was glorious. And in the I mentioned this to Mayor Guardian, John, off the air. We have the Johnny Carson rule on this. Mayor Guardian doesn't even know the questions I'm going to ask. It's like Johnny Carson had a rule. You didn't talk to Johnny Carson about what you were going to talk about, because the show is better when you do the show. You do it once rather than, hey, and then we're going to talk about this, and then I'll ask you this, and then you'll say something cute, and I'll do this next. But I'm going to confess, I did mention to Mayor Guardian that I was disgusted. First of all, I was on 2 hours sleep because of investing in watching it, and then I would be on 2 hours sleep the next day, because by the time I got to bed after midnight and got up at 2 a.m., and I'm telling you, the last 8 minutes just burned my belly when 4 consecutive, I mean ridiculously hyper, just party identity, politically correct, anti-Trump, just bombs one after the other, just to me infected this beautiful pageant that for an hour and 52 minutes was utterly glorious, and our own Caitlin Schofel just rocking the place, making it all the way to the very end. And I truly believe this. The answer of Miss North Dakota trashing our president, I believe, won her the crown. I really believe that. Caitlin Schofel gave a very intellectually fair answer that did not please the Hollywood elite that were posing the questions. And, John, I am so on board with you on this, but I think I know the mayor well enough. There's no way you can tell them. First of all, you don't even know who the judges are going to be next year. By the time they announce them, what are we going to do? Call Jordan Sparks and say, Jordan, you're not going to ask that question? And whoever that bug-eyed Hollywood guy was that asked the first question that was loaded about the, this or that, Confederate monuments, or the Charleston, or Trump and North Korea, Trump and Russia, collusion, all this craziness. You would never, no one would be able to pull that off, I think, Mayor.
Yeah, Harry, first of all, I have to agree with what you're both saying. This was obviously a series of anti-Trump questions. It was inappropriate for the Miss America organization. If it was anti-Bush or anti-Obama, I'd be saying the same thing. So it's not just because Donald Trump is president. I thought it was just inappropriate. The pageant was probably one of the best. It really went off flawlessly. It shows Atlantic City so well. The parade was really good. It was really a good pageant week. And, the pre-parties, the the after parties, all of that. I'm just saying people came down. It was a very good, iconic part of Atlantic City that seems to have grown up and been very appropriate, except for the questions at the end. I'm right with you. But I will talk to Josh, the president of Miss America, next time I see him, and I'll make sure that I see him in the next week or so and share, John, your thoughts, which I happen to agree with.
See if you could, if they have been getting feedback, because let's face it, it's a 50-50 sort of thing, divided nation. So there would be many people that it's red meat, they're so happy it happened, but then there's at least half the country or thereabouts equally unhappy that it took place. So why not just avoid that?
Yeah.
You could have asked questions about North Korea tension,
sure.
So many, China, so many, should there be, wouldn't a great question for one of the Miss America contestants in the top 5 that could be the next Miss America be, do you think that the United States and the 15 on the UN Security Council, should they allow North Korea to become a nuclear power? Wouldn't that be a great question?
Yes.
It's not loaded.
Nope.
It's fair. It would let somebody show their intellect and their depth on issues, but instead it was all that slop. But let's turn it from that to but I'd be curious to see if they're getting much grief for that, because it certainly generated a lot of unnecessary publicity that it happened, and that's a shame when it went off so flawlessly. But let me turn it to the seriousness of, because that was crazy, the seriousness of the and Sirius Satellite, not Sirius, Siri just launched on my iPhone because I said Sirius. That's pretty funny. It's recording now our conversation or transcribing it. I just turned it off. But let's have the serious side of this equation, and that is Miss America is in the final year of a very expensive contract that I don't know if anybody is salivating to write that $8 million check or whatever it is. Well, I think
4 years.
Yeah, for
3 years.
Yeah. So what are your thoughts about that?
Yeah, so I don't think that CRDA is going to be able to be prepared after next year. So we have 1 more year to write a $4 million check for the Miss America pageant. But, Harry, I think we both agreed on this. Again, we rarely talk before we're on the air, but we did share the same comment that the last time we lost Miss America, it was like the beginning at the end for Atlantic City, and Atlantic City wasn't able to even keep the Miss America pageant that people associated with Atlantic City.
And Mayor,
that is terrible marketing.
You're on that lofty committee that will have a big say in a lot of this. And I think one of the most important things, if not that you need to be coached, because you know this on your own, but I want to say it anyhow, one of the most important things to impress upon people that don't fully understand this is the $4 million check seems exorbitant, and how are we going to do it? But think about how the loss in terms of this makes – the last time it happened, it made it look like the wheels were falling off Atlantic City. Oh, my gosh, if Miss America is leaving Atlantic City, then the last one left, turn out the light switch. If Miss America has left, then Atlantic City is going down the tubes. That costs more than $4 million, I promise you.
I agree. And, you have to watch the show. Again, you're in the hall, but you see what the TV audience is getting and stuff. And that is an incredibly positive view of Atlantic City. As they introduce the girls, instead of just being on stage, they're all over the city.
Yep.
And so it's the beach. You know that observation wheel is coming there. You see the marina, and you just have a very, very positive outlook.
Yeah.
The casinos, the boardwalk, the beach. The ocean.
Beautifully
done. That's what you've got to see as part of the value of the Miss America.
What I would hate to see, Mayor,
and the millions of people watching it at home.
Here's what I don't want to see, and I have this horrible feeling that it might be the case, that we go the whole year, we go into the pageant itself with still no knowledge of the future. The pageant takes place under the specter of that. Then the pageant ends, and we still don't know. And then we're in some kind of way station. I hope that awkwardness and uncertainty and ambiguity can be avoided.
So Harry, I'm not going to speak on behalf of them, but when we get a new gaming property in town, they are very bullish on Atlantic City, and they're bullish on their brand. So we have Hard Rock coming in, and there's a good chance that we'll have some answer for the Revel property as well. 2 new properties coming in may look at this completely different. We wouldn't have an air show with the Chamber of Commerce if it wasn't for Borgata. There's big bucks that Borgata puts in, both in actual cash cash and in in-kind donation of rooms and food, et cetera, and things. And Borgata sees that as a real value and things. So let's look at Hard Rock as an entertainment venue, and whoever's going to come in for Revel and see that they may say, hey, this is something that we'd actually like to have right in our property. And then there's the cost of Miss America. I'm not on the board of Miss America, but I would certainly hope that over the last 2 years, with $4 million of infusion, that they were looking at new ways to create sponsorships and new income coming in. So we want to save Miss America. It's tough to justify $4 million for just the people that show up that night at the pageant. It's the TV show and it's the iconic part of Atlantic City, and the hope that the entertainment industry, meaning all of the restaurants, hotels, and casinos, are able to keep Miss America here.
There is also the value of the marketing, that you literally network marketing that you couldn't pay for.
Right.
So I think that has to be, if you do a P&L on this, they have to put everything in. All the
social
AP
media,
stories that go out,
media.
all the social media, all the national publicity, the network mentions, all of that has significant marketing, advertising value. What does your gut tell you? Will the Miss America pageant and parade be here a year from now, or will it be gone?
Well, certainly next year is no question.
I'm going
You're
past,
talking about 19.
Yes.
So I think before we had Hard Rock opening up, I think the answer was going to be clear. I thought that CRDA, and really it's the next governor. So the next governor is going to have a lot of say on what CRDA does, what they see as the role for the Casino Reinvestment Development Authority.
I think that's a question that should get posed during this campaign. I'm going to do it.
That's good.
Because Kim Guadagno stepped up big
Oh,
sure.
Sure. She's the reason it's here.
And so I want to get her take on what she would do as governor, and then we'll find out. I mean, let's face it, they call him Moneybags. Moneybags could write the check himself, but he also didn't mind saying there's going to be $1.3 billion in new taxes, $4 million compared to $1.3 billion
right.
is like pennies that you found on the street, heads up. So I'm going to say somehow, some way, we will not allow Miss America to slip through our fingers a second time.
Yeah, I think you have the point. I think we don't want it as a city. I don't think the gaming industry wants it. And I don't think a new governor wants to come in and get blamed for losing Miss America to another state. And that's what will happen. I think one of the southern states where the Miss America title is king still will jump on it and stuff. Not a Vegas, a South Carolina, a Mississippi.
Well, Vegas already did
Georgia, right.
And they weren't chomping at the bit to renew.
No.
40 minutes past the hour. We're going to step aside for one final break. Then we are uninterrupted. We're going to stay a few minutes into the next hour, then back to Mark Levin. And before you know it, I will go home, have dinner, go to bed, and wake up. And we have TGIF early in the morning and a great program all ready to go, including breaking news at 7:35 tomorrow morning, a Hurley in the Morning exclusive involving the race for Atlantic County Sheriff, something that has not been reported anywhere until we do it tomorrow morning at 7:35. Don't miss it. 609-407-1450 phone lines are open. So what do they say? Out of the frying pan and into the fire. When we come back, another hot topic, Gardner's Basin. And this is multifaceted, what we're going to be talking about next. With Mayor Don Guardian of Atlantic City, this is Ask the Mayor. I'm Harry Hurley on a work release, allowed out one evening per month for the Ask the Mayor program. And then we'll be back at our morning perch.
WPG Talk Radio 104.1 presents Ask the Mayor. It's your opportunity to talk directly to Atlantic City Mayor Don Guardian. Brought to you by Lexus of Atlantic City, serving the community for 25 years. Luxury vehicles at the right price. Come see how easy, affordable, and satisfying the luxury car buying and service experience can be at Lexus of Atlantic City on Fire Road in EHT. Now, with Mayor Don Guardian, here's Harry Hurley.
Thrilled to be here with Mayor Guardian and you on WPG. Thank you for spending this time and this portion of your evening with us. And we'll be here for about another 20 minutes because we'll go a few minutes into the next hour as well. We're 45 minutes now past the hour. And just if you want to make a note of it, and we'll do our best to promote like we always do in the run-up, Wednesday, October 25th, will be our October program. So it's a little bit longer, about 6 weeks away, just the nature of the mayor's schedule and my schedule. We did have an earlier date, but then they have a mayoral debate So we had to pick another date, and that's just the way it goes. So no apologies required. We go with the flow. So Wednesday, October 25th, 6 o'clock hour, the October edition of Ask the Mayor. We're going to talk about Gardner's Basin, I promise, and we're going to devote significant quality time to it because, number one, it is an issue of great public interest. I think there's also a lot of, and I don't necessarily think it's people intentionally misrepresenting certain things, but there are inaccurate things, and it happened on my program this morning where I think something that was a little bit inaccurate took place, and we had promised to follow up on it with Mayor Guardian tonight, and we're going to. And I think you're going to enjoy the depth of this question about what's really happening at Gardner's Basin now and into the future. Localness, people are bringing up our locals being threatened with extinction and some very serious points that we're going to bring up. But first, your calls. Nick joins us now. Nick, welcome to Ask the Mayor. Honor to present you, sir. Your question for the mayor.
First of all, Mayor Hurley.
Thank you.
How you doing?
Well.
Mayor Guardian.
Hi, Nick.
Did I, or I just walked in the house. Are they saying that the Miss America pageant could possibly not be in Atlantic City next year?
No, here's what we said. We said that next year, which is actually Miss America 2019, you're always a year ahead. The contestants that will be competing would be like Miss New Jersey 2018, but you're actually competing for the crown Miss America 2019. That's the nature of how it works. So this Miss America from North Dakota, Kara, is Miss America 2018. So there's 1 year left in the contract. So this upcoming year, the $4 million is appropriated. It's contractually obligated and will be honored, but we don't know what the future is after the next year, and that's what contract negotiation is all about.
I'll tell you, Mayor, Mayor Guardian, Mayor Hurley, I believe that what is going on in this country, and we're slowly but surely we're losing tradition over money. They don't care. The highest bidder will get it. They don't care that it's always been in Atlantic City. And Gardner's Basin and all that work down there, that's going to be beautiful for fishing and bringing people in. You can catch nice fish there. But going back to the Miss America pageant, Mayor, I can remember when we were kids, and Harry knows, he's got a few years on me, just a few. I mean, we'd have our baths and pajamas on and the family sitting. We're on the floor, man, and we can't wait till it comes on, like the Indianapolis 500 and so many other things. It was a family thing, even if we couldn't be there and attend it.
You're so right about that. And remember when there was only 3 networks, basically, and there were very few channels on your dial. I remember besides the alphabet networks, maybe we got what was called WPIX 11.
Yes.
Because we could watch the Yankees when I grew up, and I used to love that channel because of that.
WOY.
The numbers that Miss America used to do. And in fairness, they keep saying, the numbers keep going down. But guess what? If you did 6.5 million viewers on a Sunday night with 1,000 or 2,000 channels that are now on these Xfinity boxes and all these satellite networks, that is still an excellent evening of programming.
Yeah, and you had a tough football game. I'm going to give them some defense.
That's true.
Yeah, the really tough football game.
And the Kansas City Chiefs.
How many people didn't have TV coverage or weren't watching their TV because of the hurricane? Yeah, there's a good chunk of time.
Very fair. Very fair point.
I think all three have got to be taken into account. And I'm with, Nick and stuff. My entire youth, we never missed Miss America and stuff. And, we were sitting as kids in our pajamas with popcorn watching Miss America.
So true. So keep happy thoughts, Nick. Nobody has said one word about Miss America leaving Atlantic City. I brought it up. And I brought it up on Hurley in the Morning because I'm just very mindful that when you're in the final year of a contract and there's no discussion yet about the future, that I know what that usually means. That usually means during the year it gets brought up and questions get raised. And is it leaving? I want to see next year's Miss America pageant and parade not get caught up in the specter of where will Miss America be next, because that spoils to an extent the beauty of it happening here now by worrying about is it going to happen, next time. So there's no bad news to report on this, Nick. It's just it is the final year of the contract. That's all.
And it belongs in the world's playground.
Well, they know it, too, because let's be honest. I mean, one year it was on some zombie channel. I don't even know the name of it, Axios or something. Another year it was on the country music channel. It lost so much of its prestige when it was not in Atlantic City.
Agreed.
Nick, it's going to be okay. All right, man?
All right, gentlemen. Have a good evening.
You got it.
Thanks.
All right, now we're going to talk about Gardner's Basin because we're at 9 minutes before the top of the hour.
Sure.
Here's how this has been coming up on my program. Candidates like Tom Forkin, other people have been saying to me that there is some kind of hideous plan that's going to kick all the locals out of Gardner's Basin. Even some of the council members got blamed for supporting it when I know for a fact that Councilman Tibbet does not support any of the locals being hurt. And, in fact, people have come to me tonight and challenged me if I would ask you that.
Sure.
Would you veto it, if this came about in a way that it would hurt localness? Would you veto that?
Absolutely. No question about it. Let's just break down what's going on at Gardner's Basin. In the 1970s, this city had sold the development rights to all of the parks to the national government, to the National Park Service. It's called Green Acres. I don't think it was an unwise decision. If you wanted to protect your park against future politicians selling it to you because it was worth a lot of money, you went to Green Acres and it preserved it. Now, there are strings on those preservations.
Outdoor type stuff.
And you only have to do outdoor stuff. You can't put buildings there. You can't build anything. You can't pave it without permission from the National Park Service. And the only way they would give you permission is if it somehow empowered more people to use the outdoor space. So anything that you want to do outdoors, a picnic grove, a concert, boating, fishing, all of that is perfectly fine here. So what happened is back, I think it was 2005, it might have been earlier, but certainly in 2005, I remember that year, we had the sheds, which sounded like a good idea. You were trying to be more like Smithville, and so you had these sheds.
And they're temporary.
They're temporary and they're seasonal.
Yeah.
And they rent for a ridiculous low amount, $100 a month. So you're getting a place, it's really an incubator for new business.
Wow.
And you didn't have corporations, not a whole lot of Atlantic City people, but you did have people that were real crafters. So they painted, they created jewelry, they created art, and they sold them.
And to me, that qualifies as localness.
And they definitely added to the charm. Everyone thought at the time, and Jim Cooper was the chairman at the time. I'm certainly not blaming him, but
Great
he said,
man.
listen, it's worth trying. I mean, first of all, what's the chance the National Park Service is going to come down and visit us here? Number two is their seasonal business and they're portable. I think we're going to be fine and things. Well, guess what happened? Jim's not with us. He passed away, but 2 years ago, I guess, the Park Service actually did come down and inspect. I was with the inspection there. I sold them on all the things that you can imagine, but they were pretty miffed because most of the buildings that are in the basin, including the aquarium, had never been approved by the federal government.
Wow. So they weren't happy about
So
that.
they were not happy at all. So now
that was like Back Bay Ale House?
Yes, Back Bay Ale House and the aquarium and the Atlantic and Gilcrest. And so here's what happened.
How about all the docks? Like
docks okay.
One, the docks
no,
okay.
all the docks okay because that's outdoor activity. That docks work. And commercial docks, that works too. Okay, so what happened is we had a pretty common sense conversation. We said, listen, the aquarium actually does bring over 100,000 kids. They stay, they use the park. It's wonderful. They said aquarium's good. And we're going to allow you to have a place for breakfast and lunch and a place for dinner.
So then the Back
because
Bay Ale House was
that's
good.
going to support people using the basin. But anything in the future, it's got to be things like a miniature golf course, a bungee cord, a picnic grove, etc., outdoor things. If you want to build things, it's got to be across the street at that Kushner property, the old trolley barn. So now we have the first issue with the vendors. And I want to say sometime in the spring, I got a letter from the National Park Service says they absolutely have to be out by Memorial Day this year. I wrote to them, explained that it wasn't a corporate plan, that these were local mon pas. They worked all winter long. Would you at least let them stay through Labor Day weekend? They agreed to Labor Day weekend, and then in August they told me that they were coming to inspect at the end of September, and the sheds would have to be removed.
The reality is they have to be gone.
They have to be gone from Gardner's Basin, but here's the point, is what happened is someone that was running a commercial boat there had said, how come the tip of Gardner's Basin isn't listed in the design? And the reason is that that fishing area, the wall there, and all of that new parking that's been asphalted as you come up New Hampshire Avenue, including the end of New Hampshire Avenue itself, and the ramp that used to go down for the boat is not part of Gardner's Basin. It is owned by the city. So I know that we're meeting with the shed renters to see if they'd be willing to move to the outside of Gardner's Basin, right there.
There may be
that's a solution.
There may be a tremendous irony here, and I'm glad. That's why I'm so happy about your program and that you have the opportunity to share the truth. A very impeccable source, and I'm going to say this. I'm not going to confirm it. I'm going to repeat it. And then what I'm going to do by tomorrow is I'm going to reach out to Tom Forkin, because this impeccable source just told me off the air, I'm going to protect my source, but you know I'm not making it up, Mayor. I'm reading it right now. This source is saying that Tom Forkin is the one that called the federal government, and I'm going to ask him the question. And Tom, if you're listening right now, feel free to call in. Because you've been accused of being the one that caused the federal government to come in the first place. Look, you're supposed to...
I'm very surprised to hear that. Tom is loved, but that's okay.
I'll ask him.
So Harry, the first part is, I think we can solve the problem with the individual vendors just by putting them right on the outside. Most people think it's part of Gardner's Basin. I think they can get along fine.
But you have to admit, though,
yes,
it isn't right there in the nerve center. I mean, right now, it's just really nice, the little ice cream shop.
Oh, the ice cream shop stays.
That's okay?
And Gilchrist stays, and Back Bay stays.
Okay.
What they said was, if you build a Flying Cloud, they'll only allow one lunch and dinner restaurant. So if if you build a Flying Cloud, Back Bay has to close.
Let me ask you this, because yes, I wouldn't see how this could be a problem. It's a temporary type outdoor structure. I think it's Captain Jeff George. They have that wonderful barbecue right there. There's a big tent, like Petrosh has those really heavy-duty tents.
Is that permitted? Of course.
Well, so that is permitted.
Yes.
So why couldn't people do that?
They can. Those are the type of things that are permitted.
Because those things on bad weather, they have sidewalls.
Right. They're saying if you want to build Flying Cloud restaurant again, 2 stories, 3 stories, then you can't have the Back Bay restaurant.
So, but you
have one or the other.
But you also cannot put a shed down, correct? Or could you put a shed down?
No, no. At the Flying Cloud, I think you can. Yeah, Flying Cloud has food trucks now, and then they have a bar. That's all okay.
But what if a crafter wanted to have, beaded, bracelets and things, jewelry?
No,
you couldn't put a shed.
No, because it doesn't fit in with the outdoor theme.
But you could put the tent.
You could feed people, because they're using the outdoors, but you can't make money commercially.
I got you.
In that location.
So they need to be across, which is sort of
right by where the bathroom is, where the old Holy Spirit bathroom is.
It actually is an extension of the area.
It is. I don't think anyone doesn't think that that's part of Gardner's Basin. It just is a little bit away from where they are now. But we're talking about 100 yards. We're not talking about a whole lot more than that and things. So I think that's the solution there. We have a meeting, I think, next week with the owners of Back Bay on just that, on whether or not it makes sense for them to continue there, for a new building to be built where Flying Cloud was, and the people of the Back Bay to have some type of extended lease. I understand that Back Bay has at least 3 more years on the lease there, but they have a much longer lease if there's a property at the what was the Flying Cloud, because the Flying Cloud was torn down, but they had a long-term lease, I want to say about 20 years, that they had bought from Ross and Marianne when they were running the Flying Cloud.
Very, very interesting. So it's not as bad as it originally sounded, but yet there will be changes.
Yeah, there will be changes. And then finally, there was a board of directors that was originally appointed when they started to develop Gardner's Basin, and that board is now going to be gone for the most part. There'll be a small board there, but there's a lease now with Scarborough. There was a fair and open process that said, would anyone like to lease the basin and run it? And Scarborough Company put the package together, and it calls for some development that includes some of the items that we're talking about.